On today's episode, sure, Roger Moore will get your oil refineries back, but he's going to need a bunch of kitties, a crate full of scotch, and absolutely no women. If he sees a single woman, he's going to blow chunks everywhere. Ew, gross, cooties. We watch North Sea Hijack today on Nothing Movies.
Well, happy International Women's Day, Kaz.
Now we recording on International Women's Day.
We certainly are.
Oh my
Just
God.
by absolutely
by
coincidence.
by absolute sheer coincidence, we're watching one of the most bald-faced,
misogynistic
movies ever.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're all about poor timing this year. Well, with the Burn Hollywood burn on the tail end of the LA fires, and now this.
Well, we needed to thin out our listenership is what we needed to do.
We've been too popular.
We've been too popular, so you know what? We need to thin that out with all the people who have good taste.
Yeah.
And what is this? It's Nothing
It
Movies.
certainly is.
Where we ask the question, the fuck is this? But for the purposes of today's episode, the word fuck is spelt with 2 lowercase f's.
Yeah. For reasons.
For reasons.
Yeah.
That will not be explained.
No, we explain. Maybe it makes sense if you read the book that this movie's based on.
But it's the podcast where we
Yeah.
go through an actor's filmography and choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've made and decide whether or not they've got a certain something or if they're just a whole hell of a lot of nothing. My name is Kaz Lasgard.
My name's Jameson Rafter. Only one F in Rafter.
That's right. I have 2 silent Qs, but I won't tell you where they are.
Oh, really?
Because they're silent.
And deadly.
I actually do have a silent W if you use like my original Polish last name of Liszkowski.
Yeah.
Because the W's are actually pronounced as V's in Polish last names.
Huh.
Yeah. So
And they're meant to look like 2 V's.
they are.
Yeah.
But it's like a really pronounced V.
Va-va-voom.
Vavavoom.
All right.
That's what it is. Yes, we are on our second episode of the Nothing Movies of James Bond actors, and today we're taking a look at Mr. Roger Moore. Sorry, Sir Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Basically, all these guys are sirs, right? I guess the latter ones aren't. But,
Daniel Craig's not knighted.
Not yet, no, and he'll probably turn it down now that it's
Yeah.
not Queenie.
Right.
But anyway, we're talking about 1980s North Sea Hijack. Now, like many movies we've covered on this podcast, North Sea Hijack has been released under a multitude of different names.
Oh, okay.
For American television, it was renamed Assault Force. For the German release, it was known as Demolition Squad Atlantic, or Spring Commando Atlantique.
Okay.
But for the United States theatrical release, it was given the name Folks, after its main hero. Now, inherently, there's nothing wrong with this. Movies about, like, tough guy action heroes often name their movies after their last name. Like Shaft.
McBain.
Bullet.
Yeah.
Rambo. MacGruber. Take your pick.
Other examples.
As I alluded
Iron
to...
Man.
that is his name, Tony Iron Man. But as I alluded to earlier, this is somewhat complicated by the fact that the name Folks is spelt with 2 F's, both of which are lowercase. So imagine you're an American audience goer in the 80s, going to the theater. There's a new movie out starring the guy who's currently playing James Bond. Looks cool. You go and you look at the poster, and you ask the question that I'm sure I asked myself, what the fuck is folks?
Folks.
Folks.
Yeah.
Like he's fucking Yazine Bey or some shit. Whatever. Spelling everything in fucking lowercase.
Oh, here, let me just pick up that name you dropped.
Mos Def.
Oh, okay.
The actor and rapper. You're of course familiar.
I am now. Can you explain who that is?
Yeah, you know Mos Def, of course.
Not personally.
No. He's not a buddy.
Only by reputation.
You don't have much speed dial? Like over a decade ago, Mos Def changed his name to Yazine Bey. But if you look at it, the entire thing is spelled in lowercase letters.
Huh.
So, and then shortly after that, he like stopped acting and doing public appearances altogether. Go down a Wikipedia hole with Mos Def. It's weird. He's kind of disappeared off the face of the earth.
Well, why do that when I could just listen to you talk about him?
Absolutely.
About his life story.
Another example is the band Fun. Remember them?
Vaguely.
Some nights going back to my place or whatever. They spelled their name all lowercase letters with a period at the end, just because they really wanted to be twee and memorable or whatnot.
And insufferable.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks.
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 Yeah.
Named after the main character, Rufus Excalibur Folks.
Like, hell the fuck yeah with a name like that. Also, get the fuck out of here with a name like that. Is it Excalibur like the sword? Or the letter Excalibur?
Oh, I mean, that would just send him over the top.
That
would be too cool.
Yeah.
The writer was at his typewriter.
Letter over the waterfall.
It started that way, and he's all like, delete.
Yeah.
You could delete with typewriters, of course. But based on a book. Now,
Is it a series of books?
That would make way more sense,
okay,
right?
Okay.
The thing about Excalibur, folks, Rufus, R-E-F.
I say like Rufus or Rudy to his friends, but this guy would have no fucking friends.
This guy
would have no friends.
No. It's adapted from a novel by an author named Jack Davies, who primarily was a screenwriter. In fact, he adapted the screenplay for this movie. He adapted his own book, and he didn't actually have that large of a bibliography. He was primarily known as a screenwriter for films. He wrote the screenplay Those Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machines.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he wrote the novel sequel to that movie, Those Daring Young Men in Their Jaunty Jalopies.
Oh, fuck off.
which he then also turned into a movie.
Oh, okay. Well, what are we waiting for?
It's coming up. But North Sea Hijack is based on a book that he wrote with the also bad title of Esther, Ruth, and Jennifer.
Yeah, so when that came up in the opening credits, it just came after like the big long laundry list of the cast titles, and there were like 3 women after like fucking 19 men. And I'm thinking, oh, that must be Esther and Ruth and whoever. Weird that they're so low in the cast credits if they're main characters. Then we later find out that, it's the name of a ship. It's the name of an oil rig.
Yes. One of them is Esther is the ship, and then the other 2 are like big oil refineries.
Yeah, the helicopter pad and the big refinery, the big rig,
so that's what we're doing here. And let's talk about Roger Moore.
Sure,
now the third actor to play James Bond. We are somewhat going out of order, but I thought maybe we would end with Lazenby, because not only do we only have the one movie to talk about, I thought that would be a good episode to also talk about kind of like the other James Bond media that doesn't necessarily count as James Bond media, so we'll save that for the final episode.
No, I totally get that, but Roger Moore, the longest tenured Bond, is that correct? Not counting like the when Connery skipped over and like kind of came back.
It's an interesting asterisk, because if you don't count the unofficial Bond, Never Say Never Again, Roger Moore has starred as James Bond more than any other actor. He has more James Bond films. If you do count Never Say Never Again, him and Connery are tied.
Okay.
But what's interesting is he doesn't have the longest serving tenure. That is actually Daniel Craig. Because he only played James Bond 5 times, but he has the longest amount of time.
Okay, yeah.
Because, Casino Royale, I think, was like 2008, and the most recent one was just like 2022.
So, all right.
Like a decade and a half.
Okay, I was thinking more like installment tenure, but like sort of like, longevity over decades or so. Okay, yeah.
But he's been in the most movies.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. It's funny. I meant to bring this up on the last episode. My late grandfather was a huge James Bond fan, like on my mother's side of the family, which I always thought kind of interesting because he was a pilot for Air Canada and did a lot of international flights. So he had like that kind of jet-setting lifestyle, but I guess he just liked the, the exotic locales and the action for it.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
That's what brings people back.
He was such a big fan that I believe the last movie he ever saw in theaters was Casino Royale.
Oh, a good one to go out.
Yeah. But growing up, he was very much in the camp that Sean Connery was his James Bond.
The one that he started with. I
never heard him say a bad thing about Roger Moore, but Connery was his guy. And so I guess like throughout, just as you get adopted into the stuff that your family is into, everyone's Bond was Sean Connery, and I never really put eyes on the Bond movies in general, never really had a thought on Roger Moore. And now that I actually sat down and watched all the movies, Moore might be my favorite Bond.
I would say his movies encapsulate a little bit more what we think of when we think of James Bond.
Yeah.
He's a lot more gadget heavy. He's
Yeah.
a lot more lady schmoozing. Like he's really like Connery would always end up with the girl, but like sometimes the mission would take precedence over the women.
Yeah.
With Moore, women were always the main issue that he was trying to get that wet.
With Connery, it always seemed like, okay, you get the girl at the end, that's a nice perk for the mission. Whereas Roger Moore just seemed to enjoy...
The girl is the mission.
well, he just seemed to enjoy being James Bond.
Sure.
Like the one-liners came off more naturally with him. He always kind of had like this wry, oh, what the hell kind of situation am I in now? But I'm just going to roll with it. He had the charm right, I think, for a role like James Bond. And yeah, there's a lot of debate like, well, Bond is supposed to be a bit of a brawler, and I'm like, there's so many other protagonists like that in action movies. Let's have a guy with a little spring in his step.
Yeah.
A little more whimsy
and
to
not
him.
to mention, every Bond that has existed since Roger Moore has leaned more into the brawler motif. I guess like a good... I mean...
I will say, though, that like some of the goofier elements of the Moore movies, they don't work for me.
There's a lot of stuff in the Moore era that does not work at all.
God, no.
Because the whole thing with like the Moore era is that they're chasing fads.
Yeah.
Which is something that you could also a complaint that you could lob against the Craig era as well too. You could say.
Oh
that
yeah.
Skyfall is basically just The Dark Knight. Quantum of Solace is basically a Jason Bourne movie.
Yeah, Casino Royale is basically Batman Begins. They're basically trying to do Christopher Nolan.
They're basically trying to do Christopher Nolan, and the Moore era is them chasing the trends of the moment. Moonraker is a direct response to Star Wars, because before Star Wars came out, James Bond was kind of the box office behemoth, and Star Wars just came in and ate everyone's lunch.
We need, like, people got space fever. We need to put Bond in outer space.
Hey, as luck would have it, Ian Fleming wrote a book that has moon right in the title. Does he go to space? No, but we can kind of smudge that.
You
a
let
little
the
bit.
writers worry about that.
We can figure out a way to get them in there. Man with a Golden Gun introduces this racist sheriff named Sheriff J.W. Pepper, who sticks around for 2 movies. That has to be a direct reference to Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit for sure. Maybe Dukes of Hazzard. But
it's like,
holy shit, for that character to be introduced in like the reboot, here's the new Bond, I could see a lot of longtime fans just going, oh, what the fuck have they done to our series here? Who the fuck is this guy?
What's weird is if you go back and you watch The Man with a Golden Gun, if you take that character out of the movie and then you also cut like 10 random minutes, I guarantee you that's not one of the bad James Bond movies.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because it's like, I my recent rewatch of Man with the Golden Gun, I'm all like, why do people hate this? It's Christopher Lee on a private island
and he's got
Hervé Villechaize and a space laser, and he's like threatening the world with his laser. Why is this bad? And then like an hour into the movie,
they're in Louisiana
I'm like,
on
because it's
on
like
a speedboat fight.
Because it's interminably boring, right? I forgot about all that, but yeah, Roger Moore's...
Never mind. I think I was thinking of the first one where Sergeant Pepper, or whoever the fuck is
Sergeant Pepper,
when he shows up.
That is the first one. That's him, and then
then
they brought him back for The Spy Who Loved Me, because he just tested so well. Just absolutely through the roof. But, Roger Moore's lead up to James Bond, he has always primarily been known as a TV guy. Like, the 2 sort of tenets of Roger Moore's career are being in all the James Bond movies and then the multiple TV series that he was on. I feel like the most well-known one is The Saint, where he was playing sort of like another suave, sort of like ladies' man. I'll be honest, I've never seen The Saint. I'm only familiar with it.
The movie? The one from the 90s?
I am only familiar with the Val Kilmer movie, which I also have not seen.
Oh.
I'm just aware that it existed.
Okay.
But I think his deal in that is that he's a master of disguise.
Okay.
Because I believe I sort of remember the trailer for the Val Kilmer one, and it looked like he was wearing a bunch of different disguises in that one.
Okay.
So he did The Saint. He also did Maverick, the James Garner card player in the Old West, which was also turned into a 90s movie. Now, he joined late. He joined in the 4th season, and he was actually sort of a pseudo-replacement for James Garner.
Okay.
He came in, it was, the story is, it was Maverick and his 2 brothers who would go around and they'd play cards and they'd get into Old West shenanigans.
Sure,
and in the 4th season, they bring in their British cousin.
Okay, that was going to be my question.
No,
like,
he's not doing an American accent there.
Okay.
But yeah, he did that. He did like a couple of other TV shows that lasted for like 1 or 2 seasons. And then eventually Sean Connery's tenure was up. And I believe they offered it to Roger Moore around On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but I think he was tied up in one of the TV deals, so went to George Lazenby, then it went back to Sean Connery.
Yeah, and then to Roger Moore when he was just, getting to be a little too old to be playing James Bond.
Yes, in the first movie, Live or Let Die, he was 44, so he will always be the oldest actor to play James Bond. He was older than Connery. He was older than the actor he was replacing at the time, and yet he made more movies than any of the other actors.
Yeah, I guess so.
But by the end, it was quite apparent that he should probably have stopped like 2 movies.
When he's just walking, he's got like a bunch of liver spots on his forehead and like noticeable crow's feet.
His romantic interest is like younger than his own daughter, or something. I forget about like the actual.
No, but there is like a famous story or something where it was like the leading lady said something that was like, "Oh, my mother has such a huge crush on you," or something like that, and he was like, "Oh,
right,
yeah, I should stop being James Bond.
I should stop being James." I think it was something like they were talking about her mother, and he found out that her mother was younger than he was.
Maybe that's it. Yeah,
something like that, where he was just doing the math and he's all like, this is silly now. I can't do another one of these. But yeah, his run, of course, is Live and Let Die, which has probably the best James Bond theme out of all of them. I mean, it's pretty good.
It's always up for debate. I mean, Live and Let Die, it's a Beatle, right? I mean, you can't.
Yeah, of course.
Can't really knock that.
What would you say is its competition?
Like just on personal taste myself, I really do enjoy the theme for The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh, nobody does it better.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite Bond movies too.
I mean,
there's a lot in that movie that goes really well for me. I think it's the best Bond villain lair. It introduces Jaws.
Yes.
For me, I love the tune for it. And just like as like sort of an outsider new to the James Bond formula, when I was like, okay, eventually I'm gonna get around to.
That's a good one to start with.
Well, I went in the order.
Yeah. I know, but yeah, it's a good one to just watch on its own.
I don't know, just like sort of when the other shoe dropped for me on the meaning of the title, it's not about sexy scientist that's been embroiled in this world of espionage, and here's the man with the license to kill that she's fallen in love with. No, James Bond is falling in love with another spy on the enemy side. That's what the fucking title's all about.
Whoa!
Yeah. Oh, don't tell me you just realized that.
So wait. But the title...
The spy it's James Bond talking about the Russian spy, this extremely capable KGB agent who Bond doesn't really trust, and she hates him. But the two agencies form a truce, and now they're forced to put aside their differences and go after... I forget the fucking name of the villain, but they're kind of like...
Stromberg.
Sure, yeah.
Isn't that amazing that I pulled that out of my ass?
No. But I don't know. I thought that was like, okay, here's something new for the James Bond formula, where like, no, he's on equal footing with a female counterpart of his, and she actually gets one over on him a couple of times. And I thought, this is an interesting new avenue to take James Bond in after whatever number that was in the series, after so many episodes of him just being, the guy. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm sure like Bond.
I'd agree with your argument more if maybe that movie ended with like the female spy like dumping his ass, just being all like, "Bye, James." She's holding on to like a helicopter or whatever, and then he like puts his hand here and
wistfully,
then goes,
like the one that
that was the spy who loved me.
The one that got away.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, where he goes to space, and we bring Jaws back because we love Jaws. Jaws is more of a main character now than more of any of them, except he only ever appeared in those 2 movies.
Jaws finds love, and he does a heroic sacrifice to make sure Bond can...
What do you mean they're fine? They're up on that space station now. They're still orbiting the Earth. They have 100 years worth of food. They'll be just fine.
Him and his brace face
That's right.
lady friend that I don't
Very
think has
sweet.
a line of dialogue in that movie.
I don't think she does either, no. And then after that, there's For Your Eyes Only. Not one of the more memorable ones.
Yeah.
Julian Sands is the villain in that. I kind of forget. I think he's protecting a championship skier in that. Or something.
Isn't that On Her Majesty's Secret Service? Because that one.
I think there's skiing involved in both of those.
Yeah.
Oh, no. He's protecting... Oh, no, I remember what happens. He's protecting a world-famous cellist. And at one point in time, they need to get away from the bad guys. So he sits on her cello case and he slides down the mountain.
Oh,
that's
what it is.
That's why I was thinking of skiing.
Is that the one where it ends with him like dressed as a clown trying to defuse a bomb at like a big circus tent?
That would be the next film, 1983's Octopussy.
Octopussy, okay.
Definitely the weirdest of
Yes.
the James Bond movies, based on the fact that it's called Octopussy.
Yeah.
Again, it's another plot that I'm struggling to remember. He's trying to stop some bad guy.
You remember that movie for the title.
You do. You assume that the titular Octopussy is going to be the villain, but one, you don't meet her until midway through the movie, and then a couple of scenes after you meet her, she's immediately on James Bond's side. She's like a Catwoman type figure. She's out for diamonds. She's out for jewels.
I guess so. Isn't that also the one where there's like a tarot card reader and Bond seduces her by like drawing the correct card, but then you actually see that like he absolutely stacked the deck with the right card to pull that move.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Also, like normally he
It was a move.
Normally he plays like baccarat or
Yeah.
like poker or something like that. He plays a really weird game in Octopussy that I am struggling to remember. Also, a good chunk of that takes place in India.
Yeah.
So I am sure a huge section of it is probably nigh unwatchable now.
Yeah.
But it's been a minute. Also, to note, Octopussy came out the same year as Never Say Never Again. So that was the Battle of the Bonds that year.
Yeah.
I remember watching those two back to back, and honestly,
The old guard versus the new blood, even.
I think I kind of prefer the Connery movie a little bit more.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah. Neither of them are great.
Sure,
But,
okay.
yeah. And then the final Roger Moore film, filmed when he was like far too old to be playing it, is A View to a Kill. And I know for a fact that this is an unpopular opinion. My favorite Roger Moore James Bond film.
Really? Okay.
It's really fun. It's really fun. I know he's way too old to be playing the role. There is a moment where the action stops dead for 5 minutes so James Bond can bake a quiche.
Yep.
That happens. But it's Christopher Walken and Grace Jones. Come on. They're doing a lot of the heavy lifting in that.
I really like the turn where Grace Jones, who was sort of the female henchman of that go around, she partners up with Bond when she realized that, oh no, Christopher Walken is insane, and
Christopher Walken actively tries to kill her. I think. Yeah.
So now she's out for revenge, and so Bond and her team up. I don't know. I like little deviations or adjustments to the Bond formula like that.
I like how violent that movie is because Christopher Walken's evil plan is he has like all of these workers mining out like a diamond mine or something because the plot involves like Silicon Valley or whatever, and then him and his henchmen just unload on them mercilessly with machine guns, and it's super violent even for a James Bond movie. I'm like, god damn, there's a lot of death happening right now.
Isn't that also the one where they very clumsily shoehorn the title in, where they're looking out of like a Zeppelin, and someone says like, wow, look at that view,
and Christopher Walken goes, to a kill.
Oh.
And then someone else turns to him and goes, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? What do I mean? That's just an odd thing to say in these circumstances.
Yeah, and then
let's not mention it again.
And then there's like
forward.
There's like a 5-minute long Family Guy-esque realistic conversation bit.
Oh yeah. We love that. Isn't that the absolute benchmark of comedy? Explaining things until they. It's not like things that we do on this show. But yeah, Roger Moore. I mean, and unlike Sean Connery, after his tenure as Bond was over, he sadly did not have a second career as like well into his golden years, starring in movies that we recognized and whatnot. He would pop up in weird random roles sporadically. He was in a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie called The Quest. He was in Spice World.
You know, I think I saw the trailer kind of just, or like a little teaser for that pop up on Netflix about a month ago, and I was like, oh shit, Roger Moore in a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. I probably won't watch that. But yeah, you and I found out a couple of months ago that, oh yeah, Roger Moore was in Spice World. I fucking saw Spice World, and I don't remember him in that.
In a Razzie-nominated performance, apparently.
Oh,
but fuck those guys.
I wonder if he just worn out his welcome around that time of being in all those Bond movies.
Or, as maybe evidenced by his performance in A View to a Kill, maybe he was just very tired.
Yeah.
He just wanted to take a nap.
But he didn't do like a voiceover role as like the bad guy in some animated thing?
I think he did like a handful of voiceover roles.
Okay.
I believe he played a cat named Lazenby in Cats and Dogs 2: The Revenge of Kitty Galore.
Oh.
So somewhat of a little nod here to. Do you get the joke? His final on-screen performance, sadly.
Oh, George Lazenby.
George Lazenby. There we go. You got it. It's because we went out of order, Jameson. You would get this context if we went in the right direction. Sadly, his last on-screen performance was in the Cuba Gooding Jr. comedy Boat Trip, which is about two men who get tricked into boarding a gay cruise. And he plays an old gay man who wants to have sex with Cuba Gooding Jr. And I'm sure it's a very sensitive and nuanced portrayal. But also, you know, he did a ton of charity work. He worked a lot with UNICEF. He worked a lot. He did a lot of work for animals. He was big in the anti-whaling era. He had like a fascinating life. He had multiple tumultuous marriages, wives who were not happy when they got divorced and filed litigation and according to his biography, threw things at his face.
God.
He might have been a difficult person to live with, but I mean that's just me making assumptions at this point.
Sure, yeah.
But he always seemed like a very candid individual, and you know, he doesn't have like a lot of like horror stories about him in the industry. He doesn't have like this unfortunate shadow over him like Sean Connery going on Barbara Walters saying every once in a while you just gotta give ladies a little smack. It's all like, oh, a little too folksy there.
Well, the less we kind of know about Roger Moore, the better.
Yeah, stay in the shadows. Yeah,
we know too much about the first guy, just the right amount for the third guy here. I mean, I haven't seen anything of Roger Moore's outside of the Bond movies. I've seen a bunch of stuff that Pierce Brosnan has also does, a bunch of stuff that Daniel Craig has also done, and Connery is just sort of like a figurehead of show business in his own right. So Roger Moore is just sort of the atypical James Bond actor when I close my eyes and think, picture a suave British secret agent.
He did do movies, but most of them are in the same vein as North Sea Hijack. They were probably. They probably were mainly released in the UK. They're primarily all like men on a mission type movies. Where it's him and like two other dudes like Richard Burton or Richard Harris or like
or
whoever.
Another Richard
And then some other Richard or a Dick or a Wesley, and they all have guns and they all have little they all have fancy hats.
And they're all just sitting around like a boardroom or a war room drinking scotch, waiting for like
absolutely
waiting for the action at the 11th hour,
waiting for the one action scene that we can afford in this movie.
What a life that must have been.
Shall we dive into the North Sea?
I would rather we don't, but
no?
I would rather talk about this movie.
All right, cool. All right, well, great. All right, well, we'll take a little break, and when we come back, we will discuss Folks.
Folks is Fusiliers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which
with two F's.
Which is also with also two F's, yes. And because it's printed on the back of their jackets, it has to be in capital letters, which I bet pissed him off. I bet he made him really bad. It's like, oh, the jackets are here. Wonderful. I'll get the lads to put it. Son of a bitch!
He went,
get this shit out of here!
He went, fuck.
And then this one guy's all, I'll come back.
Yeah.
All right. Bye. North Sea Hijack was directed by Andrew V. McLaglen.
Okay.
Who was a man who made men movies for men about manly men who do men things. Often starring John Wayne or James Stewart, manly men actors.
Gotcha.
With manly names like McClintock.
Oh, he made that one? Oh, shit.
Shenandoah.
Oh, fuck.
Schism.
Schism? You don't mean schism?
Nope, schism.
Schism.
That's
okay.
how you pronounce that word, right?
Sure.
Schism, not schism. Cahill, U.S. Marshal, the Hellfighters.
Oh, fuck.
And for fans of Mystery Science Theater 3000, he, of course, directed Mitchell.
That's a manly name.
That's a manly name,
Yeah.
but you've seen that episode, yeah? No? There's just like this really funny bit where like the title comes up and like Crow very casually just goes, Mitchell. It's really hard. It's a really hard joke to just watch the episode.
Gotcha.
It's really hard to do. He had
Wait, do you hear him do it?
it sunk like a bag of stones, but when it comes out of a robot's mouth,
it sings.
gold.
It works.
It absolutely works.
Okay.
He had previously worked with Roger Moore 2 years previous in the film The Wild Geese. I would really like to spend a little bit of time talking about the poster for McClintock.
Okay.
I was only going to bring it up for one thing, and then the more I looked at it, the more I realized I had to say about it. So, McClintock is a Western starring John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. The tagline on the poster here is, wallops the daylights out of every Western you've ever seen. Now, with a tagline like that, you would assume that the photo would be John Wayne, punching somebody in the jaw, giving him a good left hook.
Yeah.
But as I turn my phone around and show you, it is in fact him with Maureen O'Hara over his knee, and he's walloping her.
Yeah.
This is the type of poster that I imagine folks probably has hanging in his castle somewhere. He's just going to like, yes, that's a woman.
That's the way it was done.
That's a woman's place. Yes, indeed, giving her a good 1-4.
Yeah, I will stress that is the original poster.
That is how this movie was marketed.
Yeah.
That's how it was sold to audiences.
I'm sure if we saw like the recent DVD re-release of it, it'll just be like the big blown up head of John Wayne.
It's just her bum.
It's just her ass,
it's like, yeah, that's the dust cover. It's just her bum, yeah. And then there are 2 additional taglines. These taglines do like the old movie thing where not only are they taglines, but they also reaffirm the name of the movie.
Sure.
So it's McClintock. He puts his brand on the territory and every woman in it. And then immediately,
Jesus.
And then immediately beneath that, McClintock, the brawl for fun, who put a town on the map and hung his name on it. I would just like to see more movies bring that back, where it's like John Wick.
Just the explanation of what's going on.
Absolutely,
yeah. Beat you over the head with it.
And then you think it's done. You think we're done with taglines here, but then if you look near her feet, there's like little tiny text down here.
Because they can squeeze in more misogyny this way,
Absolutely,
I bet.
you gotta get down this here. Now, apparently, McClintock is a movie that John Wayne made with his 2 adult sons, Patrick Wayne and Michael Wayne. And if you scroll in all the way down to Maureen O'Hara's heels, you'll see another tagline that says, "Look! You get 3 Waynes for the price of 1. John, Pat, and Mike." And then there's an asterisk next to Mike, and then in even smaller letters says, "He's the producer." Movie posters used to be fucking weird, man. Like, what the fuck? That's like a drunk producer at a bar, like, cornering you going to like, look, I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say. There's only 1 Wayne in this movie. Shut up for a minute. 3 Waynes.
Yeah.
The 3 Waynes for the price of 1.
You sure he was like the sole producer? Sounds like there was like fucking 5 of them who all took a turn at the pen on the poster and said, no, I got something else we gotta put down in here.
Have you ever seen a movie add something and then in parentheses go, he's the producer? It's just
in case
so
anyone
weird.
was on the fence about going to check
I am
it out.
not remotely interested in watching this movie. I kind of want this poster.
What?
Just because it's so weird and it's such a dinosaur of a bygone age. I would hang it ironically. I would invite if I invite
until it stops, until you just like have it in your apartment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then any woman I invited over, I'd have to be all like, no.
See, look at the fine print.
Look at the fine print.
He's a producer.
He's the producer. You see, you understand.
Get 3 John Waynes of this. Isn't that great? Don't you get it, you silly twit?
Oh my god, I could go on for like 5 more minutes, but we should probably move on to North Sea Hijack.
Yeah. All right.
Boy.
Well. So the movie starts immediately in Scotland.
Yeah. No time to waste.
Yeah, on this castle estate overlooking a beach or something.
I thought he lived on a private island at one point, but then someone drives up to him later in the movie, so I think he just has like some prime oceanfront
castle property.
Now, according to the IMDb trivia, which can never be trusted, this movie was originally pitched to Sean Connery, of all people, but when he pulled out and they recast it as Roger Moore, they inexplicably left the Scottish ancestry. Even though Roger Moore said, there's no way in hell I'm even going to bother to attempt a Scottish accent because people will know what I'm doing. It's already too close. Me picking up Connery's leftovers here.
When did this come up between Never Say Never Again and Octopussy?
Well,
because now I'm thinking there was like a massive beef between these two guys.
I think there was maybe like a friendly rivalry, as friendly as like Sean Connery can be with other people.
Sure, yeah. Like a Stallone Schwarzenegger kind of thing in the 80s.
Sure, but maybe less friendly than that, because those guys are buddies. Sure. This came out right in the middle of Moore's tenure as Bond. This is in between Moonraker and For Your Eyes Only, so it's a few years before Octopussy came out.
Okay.
All of these castle scenes are filmed in Ireland, of all places. So it's in Ireland, but it's supposed to be Scotland.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure they love that.
I'm sure all parties love that.
No problems there. Yes.
So this is a training facility for Folks' Fusiliers.
Fusiliers, which refers to a soldier in the British Army who were historically armed with a type of flintlock musket called a fusil, and is not named after the fact that their favorite pasta is fusilli, which is what I thought, which is what I assumed when I saw the name.
Okay, but yeah, so they are essentially private Navy SEALs that Roger Moore runs. I have to imagine like him just going with the Fusiliers title.
Not a lot of rifles on these guys. In fact, they have harpoon guns. For the most part, because they are an underwater attack team.
But, like, the more you learn about this Rufus Excalibur guy, like, the more it's just like, man, that is such a fucking pretentious thing that he would insist on calling his fucking group
100%.
This. Yeah. So,
You better put that extra F in front of there. You better do it.
So he steps out kind of dressed like Steve Zissou, and he says, all right, men, here's your first mission. You're all falling behind your time. Like, these drills are getting real fucking sloppy here. So, we're just going to do one more drill for us, which involves him piloting his little Zodiac craft out into the middle of the water, hucking grenades at his crew.
Grenades, which
in lieu of depth charges, but like...
Yeah, I don't really know what the purpose of that was. Was it just to, like, keep them in the cordoned area of their task of
I was thinking it's to recreate the feeling of like being under intense enemy fire. Maybe it was just an incentive for them to pick up the slack, otherwise they're gonna get blown the fuck up.
Right.
But yeah, their training just involves them to like catch up to his Zodiac. They're like, well, all right, good job, lads. That's enough for the day.
Yeah. I love earlier he says it's like only one person made it in the allotted time, and that was me. Mm-hmm. And after seeing what this little demonstration was, I'm all like, well, yeah, because you're in the fucking boat. Of course you got there on time. The deck is stacked towards you.
The more we learn about this guy, the more he just included like how much of a fucking prick he is. And like he runs the gamut of being a hilarious prick to like, no, this guy fucking sucks.
Okay.
I hate this guy.
Let's run down the folks' trademarks. One, lives in a castle.
He lives in a castle full of cats.
Loves cats.
He's just filled with fucking cats.
Loves cats. Doesn't like people who don't like cats. He drinks a crate of scotch a week, it seems.
Oh, yeah. He drink every time Roger Moore has a drink in this fucking movie.
Just straight from the bottle. Just straight scotch whiskey. Later on in the movie, a character asks him, isn't it a little early? And he says it's 4 hours since breakfast, so it's late, actually, if anything.
Yeah. We find out that whatever military committee he was on, he resigned when the committee voted to admit women into their ranks.
Look, I'm going to be honest. There's a lot to like about folks.
Yeah.
All right? Lives in a castle, has a bunch of kitties, drinks like a fish. He's kind of number one, my guy.
He's got like a quiet little knitting hobby.
Yeah, he does needlepoint. He does needlepoint of his favorite cats, which it doesn't seem that he enjoys doing, but he does it to calm his mind. He's been working on the same needlepoint, he says, for 17 years.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, he's nearly done.
Yeah.
That thing's basically finished. So, like, everything seems great on paper. It's the rampant misogyny, really, that kind of turns you against him.
Well,
Because he really, he does not care for women.
Well, absolutely, yeah. Striking points for like
on like a visceral level.
Yeah, like openly hostile towards women. Like it's not just that like, oh, he doesn't respect them in this field. It's like, no, he fundamentally hates women.
So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because it doesn't actually matter for the structure of the story. We do find out near the end why folks has this inherent hatred for women.
And why he should be in therapy.
Therapy didn't exist back in the day.
Sure,
you had to get on a boat and you had to solve a mission. You had to stop a hijack.
Start your own Black Ops mercenary
Absolutely,
group.
yeah. Men will literally start their own Black Ops mercenary group rather than go to therapy. We find out that his parents died. He was raised by his aunt along with his 5 sisters.
Elder sisters.
He's
the youngest of 6, and he's the only guy.
He had to dress in their hand-me-downs, and then...
He married a woman who also had 5 sisters, and all the women in that collective expected him to take care of them based on whatever he did for a living.
So I like this is a funny explanation for 2 reasons. One, it really sort of smells a little like he doth protest too much a little bit. My one thing is all like the reason that I don't like women is because I was raised with women and they were always giving me the business and I don't care for it.
I can't take it anymore.
And I'm just all like, are you sure there's literally no other reason why you don't like women?
Single man who lives with a shit ton of cats.
A shit ton of cats in a castle? Are you sure there's nothing else going on here? And of course there isn't, because it's it's like the late 70s.
That'd be a little too on the nose here. Yeah.
Which was an amazingly homophobic time for that country.
Yep.
But no, there's no allusions to his sexuality outside of that. But also it makes me laugh because have you ever seen Punch Drunk Love?
Oh, I tried watching. I couldn't really get into it.
So, like, Adam Sandler's character in that movie also has, like, 7 sisters, and, like, the reasoning behind why he has such a crazy, uncontrollable temper in that movie is because they're all horrible to him, and they all, like, gang up on him and call him... They make prominent use of the R word, which I will not repeat here.
Yeah.
But it is funny because it does make me think, like, Oi, Rufus! How are you, Rufus the R word? That's what we used to call you. And he would get so mad. Oh, Rufy. And it's just like, I just imagine just like 10
just furiously needlepointing.
Yeah, needlepointing. And he's just all, yeah, exactly. He's all like, I've been working on this for 17 years. Secretly, he has a room in his castle that's just filled with needlepoints.
Like absolute tapestry, like floor-to-ceiling tapestry of cats. So he gets called into London on a special assignment, even though like the bad guys haven't done anything yet. And
yeah, the structure of this is a little weird because he gets called in... I had to reread the Wikipedia synopsis because there were elements of this movie that went a little over my head. But he's meeting with the head of Lloyd's. Now, are you familiar
Lloyd's
with
of London, yeah.
Lloyd's of London, yeah, which is like an insurance... It's not an insurance company, it's like bigger than that, and it's tied to like the British government.
We're gonna have to look into this.
Basically, it's like an insurance business.
Yeah.
And they want to hire folks
and his merry band
and his crew, and they want him to basically come up with contingencies for if their oil refineries get hijacked.
Yeah. Just to act as security on an oil platform, and he accepts the job by saying like, I will take on the job, but I must think of how I would outwit myself.
Yes.
Because the only way he could ever even conceive of someone being foolhardy enough to do this is if he himself were to get his crew to do it. And then he must think, how do I outsmart myself into this?
Only a man of superior intellect is likely to think of a satisfactory way of hijacking a platform or a rig.
Exactly.
Well, therefore, I must put myself in his position and devise a means of doing so. And having done that, I simply work out how to overpower myself.
You think you can?
Have I ever let you down?
No.
Your apology is accepted.
So
He's fucking insufferable.
he absolutely is insufferable. He really is. He's just like the biggest piece of shit, and he never really learns a lesson throughout this. I take it that a big draw for Roger Moore accepting this movie is that the character is so different from James Bond.
Yeah.
Even though they do share a lot of the same DNA, but I mean, like, at the end of the day...
The self-assuredness, absolutely, but
yeah.
Bond usually has, you know, an entire MI6 team to back him up.
Right. I mean, folks...
And he gets away with a lot of guile and, you know, having his wits about him.
Folks has a team as well, but the difference is his team is all just, like, completely tired of his bullshit.
Yep.
And also they're subservient to him, so it's not really necessarily a team all that much.
It's not so much a partnership at all.
James Bond, also a famously misogynistic character, but when you put him up against fucking Excalibur folks, yeah, he comes off smelling a little bit better.
Bond's a womanizer. I wouldn't say he hates women.
He doesn't hate women.
Right.
He just doesn't really respect women. And that's a theme that's like apparent all the way through, going up until the Craig era. I mean, I'm not the first person to make that observation.
I suppose, but yes, compared to Excalibur, like, the accusations that Bond hates women is a little overblown when you compare it to an actual woman hater.
When Roger Moore is literally sitting there saying, "I don't like women."
Yeah.
Women have no place in any sort of society whatsoever.
When a woman goes to get his coat and he just like pulls his arm away, like,
he's
get away from me!
Get away from me! Ooh, germs!
Like she's a zombie or something.
So while folks says he's like, okay, I have like several months to get this ready, to get my team ready, to get the training ready. Yeah. We're going to build models and everything, and then we'll figure out how to stop hypothetical hijacking of your oil refineries. Yeah, and then the way this movie is structured, the very next scene is introducing us to the villains. What this movie does a terrible job of letting us, the audience, know is that this is now several months later.
Yeah.
Time has passed. Folks is off doing his folksy business.
Yep.
And we see the initial shove off of what's this boat fucking called?
Isn't it the Jennifer?
The Esther.
The Esther. Okay, this
is
Esther.
The boat is the Esther.
Yeah, it's a supply ship that goes out to the oil rig helipad, the oil platform, I believe,
which is Ruth, and then the big refinery
is Jennifer.
Which, I mean, like, this is obviously like an actual oil refinery that they shot on.
A model?
You don't think?
It
might be a model.
I think some of those exterior shots of them in the water, that's very model-esque.
Actually, now that I think about it, it probably is a model, because this thing looks expensive.
Yeah.
This thing and it looks like, like you see this thing out on the water, and it's up on like the stone pillars or whatever, and just anytime I look at oil refineries, I'm just all like, why do we think this is a good idea? I know we got to get the oil out because it fuels everything in our society, but like, this looks so dangerous, you guys.
There's got to be a better way.
There must be a better way to pull this off, yes. So yeah, we meet the captain of the Esther, Olafsson.
Okay.
And most of his team, who I believe are like Icelandish or Norwegian or something of that denomination.
It tells us, but I didn't write it down because I forgot.
And then we see a bunch of reporters getting out of car, led by Herring. It's always great to name your minor character after a smelly fish, because you know he's going to turn out to be Two-Faced.
Now, I absolutely knew that these guys were up to no good.
Is his name Herring because he smelled fishy? Oh. Well, you know, they were up to no good because Anthony Perkins gets out of the car and I'm just all like, oh, Norman Bates, right. This guy's probably normal and cool.
So, yeah, they're posing as a team of journalists, like 8 or whatever, how many journalists are there to cover this one. All right, it's a story on, you know, how an oil platform gets its supplies. You don't send 8 fucking people to cover that story.
From different publications.
Yeah.
all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the Boston Globe, from the Dallas Herald, from like the
Tokyo
Times.
The Tokyo Times. Yeah.
So of course, like these guys are the ne'er-do-wells. They don't describe themselves as terrorists, though.
No, Anthony Perkins makes a point of saying we're not terrorists, but then he never gets around to actually saying what they are.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the explanation that they're like environmental terrorists or something like that.
No, they're just thieves.
No,
they just want money.
It's 100% the Hans Gruber
They've
thing.
got to have money.
Yeah, but
except they're not like pretending to be anything else.
Yeah.
Like they're like there's a lot of holes in Anthony Perkins' plan. Anthony Perkins, kind of a terrible criminal mastermind. He makes a lot of mistakes. He does one very smart thing, which I'll get to later. But he takes this crew hostage, and he just has like all of like these unknowable factors like all around or whatever. Like if it were me, I'd be all like lock them in the brig.
Yeah.
But he's constantly working with members of the crew, and they're constantly going all like, oh, I gotta go get this thing. I gotta go get
I'll need some backup. Can you come too?
And then Perkins always takes like a second. He's like, I'm going to allow this. And he keeps doing that.
Yeah.
And it fucks him over a couple of times. But yes, Anthony Perkins is playing Kramer, although he makes a note of saying that's not his real name. He picked it out of the phone booth.
Even though everyone of his team always refers to him as Kramer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then, so
that's just what we're going to call him.
That's just what we're going to call him.
Yeah.
I didn't really matter, and it's kind of pointless saying that it's not his real name.
Yeah.
Also on this team is the great Michael Parks as Schulman. This is sort of his number 2. He's got the big Coke bottle glasses.
The guy with the bubbles from Trailer Park Boys.
The bubbles with Trailer Park Boys,
glasses.
yeah. Now, you might remember Michael Parks. He became somewhat of a favorite of Quentin Tarantino late in his career. He has this reoccurring role as a sheriff. He appears both in Kill Bill and From Dusk Till Dawn as Sheriff Earl. He's in Kill Bill. He plays 2 different roles. In the first movie, he's Sheriff Earl. In the second movie, he's like the old drug lord that she goes to see.
Okay.
He also appeared in Kevin Smith's Tusk as the mad scientist who turns Justin Long into a walrus man.
Didn't see that one.
Yeah, he's a well-known character actor. I've been watching Twin Peaks, and he popped up on that as a Quebecois drug lord. He's great. Michael Parks, great actor.
Cool.
He's beloved by all.
And he's new to me.
Sadly passed away.
Okay.
Check him out.
All right. So Kramer and his crew, they sail the Esther out to the platform, and what they do is they start planting these explosives on the platforms, on the supportive structure of the rig, and then onto the actual oil driller itself. And they have the detonator on the ship with them at all times. They explain that we're going to ransom off like a bunch of money from the British government, like millions in all these like global currencies.
I think it was like 25 million spread over 5 different currencies.
Right. But
they're very elaborate, and Anthony Perkins has some sort of tossed off line. It's like,
the money market is so unstable these days.
Again, it doesn't seem like a smart move. It seems like he's hedging his bets.
Exactly. But essentially they have 24 hours to supply them with millions in all these different currencies. Otherwise, he's going to detonate the ship, the platform, and the oil rig, which all have thousands upon thousands of civilians on it. And he mentions that, like, we'll detonate one after the other in, like, sequential order. The thing about the detonator is that they're always fiddling with it. They're always tapping it. They're always, like, drumming their fingers nearby it. And I'm like, stop fucking with the goddamn detonators. Like, all the buttons are primed and ready to go at, like, the moment of trouble. And I'm like, no, that's... kind of... Wait a few minutes. If I was part of his crew, I would be like, boss, step the fuck away from this detonator.
Well, the one thing that he keeps saying is that, like, you know, like, they're... It's interesting that he claims that they're not terrorists, because if they are thieves who seemingly are totally cool with dying for their cause.
Which is why I thought they were environmental terrorists. Yeah.
But, like, they don't really have a cause outside of give us lots of money. Because they keep saying there's also a bomb on Esther. There's a bomb on the boat that we are currently on. on right now. And if we go up, oh well. And I'm sure this is a big team. I'm sure there's a few of these guys who are all like, wait, what did he say?
Yeah.
What are we going on? We got like a plan for this, right?
We're all devout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me all your money, otherwise I'll kill myself. Like, that's essentially what they're threatening.
Now, the detonator. This
Yeah.
is my question. Maybe you noticed this. Did they bring that with them? Or did they repurpose something that was already on the brig of the ship?
They brought that with them because the guy mentions that, yeah, he's rigged everything based on, the supplies that they brought. That's why the two divers went beneath the waters and, like, started fastening things with them.
Well, that would make sense because that is why the 3 buttons are like, they're different colored buttons, and he also has a label maker, and he's like pulled
Like a
the
sticky
tape
label.
away. He's all like, this one is Ruth.
Yeah, and it's in that awesome,
Yeah.
like blocky font for
Yes.
a label maker. It's so fucking cheap looking.
That actually makes a lot of sense, because when he started doing that, I was all like, why is that there? Why would they have that on the ship?
But they also mentioned that all those bombs are primed, ready to detonate if they were to ever be tampered with.
Yes.
So, like, you can't send, like, a bomb squad under the water to go and take care of them.
That's what they're planning on.
So now I'm just thinking, well, what happens if, like, a fucking curious fish goes by and just bumps it? Or, like, starts nibbling on some algae that'll attach itself to it? Like,
That fish...
he's gonna
fucked up.
fry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a fish fry.
So they make their demands to the British government, led by a woman prime minister. And as soon as I saw that the prime minister was a woman, I was like, okay. I wonder what old Rufus has to say about this.
What?
Yes, well, yeah, it'll be in the era of
Oh,
Margaret.
it's the Thatcher era, so
It-
yeah,
it would absolutely make
they're
sense.
just following the trends of the times and everything.
And, like, that would have been totally fine.
you're waiting for the scene where folks
where
has
our
to talk
fucking protagonist, misogynist, has to go and, like, be on the phone with the prime
Now,
minister. I was
to-
like,
that does happen. To his credit, he's
actually surprisingly cordial.
He's surprisingly respectful. It's I guess it doesn't extend to the leader of their country.
No.
One assumes.
I
yes.
suppose, yeah, he respects the office.
Yeah, if he hates women, one wonders what his thoughts were about the queen.
What, like, on her, in life or in death?
No, in like during this era
during
or
this
whatever,
era.
it's all like there's 2 women that I think are all right, and it's the prime minister and the queen.
And the queen.
All the other women can
All could, like,
flush right off.
No, I'm sure there's a reason he lives in the middle of fucking nowhere
With a ton of
in a
cat-
castle.
18 cats.
Yeah. So the British government suggests that Lloyd's of London, the insurers of the whole oil rig there, they pay off the terrorists, so the British government can be seen as not negotiating with terrorists. And then someone says, well, how about door number 3, which is we send our man Fawkes and his Fusiliers to go and handle everything. In fact, let's just watch this little demo tape of them doing their practice runs on this makeshift.
And it's one of those things where it's like all of a sudden you feel like the format of the movie has changed drastically. All of a sudden, like maybe like this one scene of the movie was like
cobbled together.
Yeah, it was like repurposed from like old footage or whatever. But no, they're watching a videotape, and it's folks. He has hired a team of mercenaries to go out and pretend to be hijackers on a boat, and he's just giving them like the basic instructions of all like, I'm going to show up at one point, like actually try and stop me.
Yeah.
And it's
You
him,
don't know when,
and
but-
it's him and his team actively taking it down.
Yeah, as a camera crew follows around people around. You think maybe those mercs would have been a little more suspicious on the day a film crew arrived.
And the entire thing gives off the air of like someone filming himself in his garage.
Yeah.
Like someone he's like, see how many reps I can do. You know,
Yeah.
it's just where it's just like it has the air of someone doing something that he thinks is really impressive.
Yeah. It's the Star Wars video kid. And it also ends with him just like, all right, so if you like what you see, call 555 folks or whatever. Yeah. And then he slams his big scotch, and the British Prime Minister's like, I think we found our guy.
I think we found our guy. I have no follow-up questions whatsoever. Give this man total power.
Carte blanche, yeah.
Yeah.
So she sends the head of the Royal Navy to go and meet up with folks.
Played by our old friend James Mason. Welcome back to the show, sir.
I never would have guessed that James Mason would have been like in the running for the Hall of Fame of our fucking show. This is the 3rd time he's appeared on the show.
Oh, what's this?
11 Harrow House and Yellowbeard.
Oh, of course he's in Yellowbeard for like that one scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's climbing up there.
Surprisingly so.
He was in a lot of movies. Apparently, according to the IMDb trivia, Roger Moore requested that James Mason be in this movie because he was one of his acting heroes.
Aw,
So he
that's
got
actually very
in,
sweet.
He got to share a scene with them, and
Multiple scenes.
And multiple scenes. I am surprised how much of this movie James Mason is in. How much of the action he gets to be a part of, given the fact that he is James Mason in the 80s, who appeared to be quite sleepy at that point in time. He's playing the Admiral, and he goes to visit folks at his castle, where him and his team are running drills. That was the word earlier that I couldn't fucking think of. Yeah, they're running their drills on a mock boat
the scaffolding with like yellow and black tape on it.
that someone says they put together in like 3 hours or something. Like they just, because they got the call that the Admiral was on his way, and in that time he was all like, all right, chaps, we're gonna build a boat. Build a boat in my backyard.
And it just looks like the set of like Nickelodeon Guts or whatever. Just like fucking around on this thing. And here comes the Admiral, who's none too keen on this folks fellow because he's not proper military. He's an outside contractor. Yeah. But of course, this being, folks' movie, he knows better than the experts. He knows better than the fucking military.
His name's on the poster
That's
in
right.
some regions.
Yeah.
So he runs over. It's so funny. Folks is just running these drills because like the drill, like I don't understand what he's doing. It just looks like he's making these guys in wetsuits like run upstairs,
up and downstairs,
over and over again, and then he's looking
faster.
And then he's looking at his watch. He's all like, "Nope, that's no good. You're all dead. Go back down and do it again." And then they just run up the stairs. And by the way, the folks Fusiliers. These are some pretty average-looking dudes. Like, a couple of them have, like, paunches and going on.
Pretty middle-aged, if you ask me.
They do. They definitely look like they've had a couple of 3 Scotch breakfasts themselves. It's really quite funny. I guess you're lighter in the water. Maybe that explains it.
I suppose. I mean...
It's all like, what? I don't need to be in shape. I'm weightless.
I don't know, man. Swimming's a full-body workout, and these guys don't look like they spend enough time doing laps.
This is why he's so angry all the time.
Yeah.
This is the type of help that he has to get help with. But
So, folks, being ever the strategist that he is, he's come up with a brilliant plan of he will accompany the military as a decoy while his team goes under the waves to defuse the bombs and just trust him on this. He's got it all figured out. And
amazingly, everyone was all like, no problem.
Sure.
Okay, we're putting all of our trust in you for some reason.
yeah,
Again,
a man who's on his like 3rd scotch and it's 11 a.m.
Again, if this was a series of books, I might buy into this a little bit more.
Sure.
Because, like, very often when they adapt, like, series of books, they don't always start with, like, number 1. Sometimes they'll start with, like, number 4 or whatever.
Like
and
the one that has, like, the most intrigue or the one that has, like, the most overlapping characters.
And there's all these implied adventures that the hero has gone on. But it's just like, this is our first time meeting this guy. Why is everyone so okay with just, like, giving command entirely over to him?
Because he's a very confident man.
He is. He does everything extremely confidently, including kissing his little kitty cats on the head.
That's right. I mean, like, hey, he loves his cats more than people. He thinks he knows better than the experts. He hates women. This guy is like the ultimate Redditor. He's got like a weird hobby and like, Okay. So, they take
They take the helicopter.
They take the military helicopter. It's the Admiral, some Weasley government pencil pusher.
I love how you see like some Weasley pencil pusher. This guy does nothing wrong.
No.
It's just like as soon as folks shows up, he's all like, "Who's this asshole?"
Yeah.
And like James Mason's all like, "This is my aide." He, like he has like important like information or whatever. He's coming with us.
He's like the important liaison between the government and the military.
And then folks is all like, "All right, well, but I'm taking one of the seats in the helicopter.
I'll be like sitting on the floor.
And if there's not a third seat, one of you guys is sitting on the floor." Just talking to like the Queen's Admiral or whatever. But yeah, on this helicopter ride, he pulls out his needlepoint, which is one of his kitties or whatever. And this government aide or whatever starts asking him about it. And it's all like, it helps me think. And I've been working on this for 17 years, so I do a lot of thinking. I'm not terribly keen on finishing it ever. In fact, sometimes when I go home, I undo a lot of the work that I do just to, because like, look, I don't needlepoint. I don't sew.
I don't know how long it takes.
I can't imagine it takes 17 years to do one cat.
Yeah. He looks like he's done like a lot of it already, and it looks like he's almost done. If you were just like,
he just needs to get over that hump.
That's right.
That's the emotional crux of this movie. Is Roger Moore
finishing his tapestry,
finishing his needlepoint.
Not learning to respect women. No, it's to finish that fucking cat needlepoint. So back on the ship, as a storm's brewing, the captured crew start coming up with an idea where they're going to poison their kidnappers.
Yes.
And
so we kind of skipped over this a little bit. So the bad guys get on board for posing as journalists, and it is understood at this point in time that Herring, kind of like the nervous guy who was like their liaison, didn't actually know that they were criminals, and he has been thrown into the brig with the rest of the sea crew.
Yeah.
So it is at this point that the sea crew are talking amongst themselves, and they're saying, is there a way we can poison the kidnappers? Because, of course, all seagoing vessels just have a poison cabinet.
Sure.
I really didn't understand what the purpose of this was, other than to poison the criminals.
Oh, they have some kind of medication that is probably like topical, but if you ingest it, it's going to tear up your insides.
Right.
Okay. Whatever.
Yeah. I imagine there is some sort of like first aid that you need to give, but if you take it orally, it's pretty bad or whatever. So they're all talking about they've gotten the key to the poison cupboard from the captain, and they're saying who's going to sneak out and do it. It's in the infirmary, and Herring says like, well, I have seasickness.
I'll do it.
And
I'm like, first of all, do you know where this fucking place is? I mean, other people who actually work on this platform here, they would know where it is. In fact, there's actually one character who is permitted to sort of go around running messages and cook and deliver the food for people. Maybe it would make more sense if they had the key to get to it. But no, let's give it to this, stranger who came with the kidnappers.
And to the crew's discredit, like they hand over the key like pretty willingly. They're all like, you're a good man. All right, we're totally good. And then as soon as he's out of the room, they all take like,
hey, wait a minute.
They all take 2 seconds, and they all go, wait a sec, boy, is our face red? And then 2 of them immediately run after him.
Honestly, I thought that he was always part of the kidnappers.
Yeah, me too.
I thought he was just there to guard them, or he's useless to the other kidnappers because he does have seasickness.
Yes.
I never thought like, oh no, he's also a victim of circumstance.
There was a double cross, a double cross.
But then the movie really wants to make a point like, oh no, this guy's he's in on it, and I'm like, wait, were we supposed to think that he wasn't? It does a really shitty job.
I don't really know what the delusion, what their idea was there.
Yeah.
I guess the idea was to keep someone amongst the crew to let them know if this exact thing was about to happen.
Maybe,
and then he can sneak off and tell Anthony Perkins about what's going on. But it doesn't work because he gets captured and he gets tied up and he gets thrown in a cupboard.
And the crew who go to get the poison, they're found out anyways because some guy was just like, I don't know,
well, Anthony
Perkins
Perkins was there. Anthony Perkins sees them grabbing the poison. Which makes this whole thing entirely pointless.
That was him, huh?
That was him.
I didn't recognize it.
Some IMDb trivia that I found that was really interesting was that seasickness pills were given out like 6 times a day on every single shoot of this, particularly on the Esther, which was shot on like an actual boat.
I thought that was
on the ocean.
I thought that was a set.
No, that was not a set. There are definitely sets in this movie, but no, everything on the boat was an actual boat that was filmed on the sea. Multiple takes where people and a lot of people on that crew, a lot of people on the film crew as well, I have to imagine. So yes, seasickness pills were apparently handed out like they hand out little cups of candy from craft services. And according to the IMDb trivia, if seasickness pills were not enough, actors got a jab in the butt from some sort of like some sort of like anti-seasickness thing that had to be, I guess, administered via the gluteus maximus. So yeah, it doesn't sound like it was an easy film to make.
No.
I mean, when you're filming anything on the open ocean,
yeah, it's always a fucking hassle.
I mean, like, this movie largely is kind of about why planning anything on the ocean, be it a movie or indeed a North Sea hijack, is a terrible idea, because midway through this movie, it just starts raining. Like, a storm just happens, and it's like, Anthony Perkins didn't fucking plan for that, and it kind of fucks things up for him. And there's just sort of like this shrugged shoulders, and it's all like, yeah, that's the ocean, dude. That's what happens. That's why it's a bad idea to do things on the open ocean.
Jeez, I'm kind of blown away by this reveal that it was like filmed on an actual boat, because watching the horizon line in the background of those ship scenes, and it's going like way too high and way too low, I'm like, oh, well, that's just, the set guys, really, exaggerating the
cameraman was very
them.
tiny, and he was on someone's shoulders, and they just lifted him up and they lifted him down again.
And then, like, during the parts where where it's storming outside, I could see kind of in the far distance that it's still clear sky. They're doing day for night, and like this just looks like someone had like a massive hose overlooking some of the actors.
Well, look, I have to imagine the rain was manufactured.
Sure.
I don't think they waited for an actual storm. But.
Well, guess what I'm getting at is that must have been astronomically expensive and a huge pain in the ass. Why not just construct the wheelhouse of a fake ship set?
Because Andrew V. McLagan made man movie. He made movies for men.
Where people get seasickness.
And we don't do things. I never get seasickness. You
get seasickness, you're a coward.
I swallow my vomit 3 times a day, and I love it. I love the way it tastes. Again, IMDb trivia, take it with a huge grain of salt.
Sure,
I don't know.
okay.
That's just what I read.
Okay. Maybe they did make sets, but they wanted to tell everybody, no, we built a fucking boat. Men built a boat, and we sailed it out to the Arctic
You're going to
Circle.
respect these men who built this boat, and we're going to shoot on this boat, and there's going to be men.
Yeah. So they try to poison the kidnappers, but the kidnappers are well aware of this ruse. So
I guess they got poison of their own, and they poured it in the coffee, because we didn't see what that had. We didn't see that.
But they forced one of the captives to have all the... Well, they forced the captive that has the massive unibrow to have all the poison coffee, and then they're chasing...
You like coffee, don't you?
Yeah,
we'll have all the coffee in the world!
and then they scare off one of the other crewmates, the only woman on the crew.
Yes, Sana.
Sana.
Yes, who is the only woman on the crew. There are some uncomfortable scenes earlier where one of the thieves... starts getting a little rapey. And I thought that guy would have some sort of ironic comeuppance, but honestly, I kind of lost track of that guy. I know all of the criminals get, like, killed by the end.
Yeah.
I didn't,
but there's no,
I didn't
like...
specifically clock which one that one was. I know he got his comeuppance.
I mean, like, all the bad guys are pretty interchangeable with no, overt characteristics.
Yeah.
Except for him, where he's very rapey with the lady.
That's really it. It's Anthony Perkins.
But then that identifiable character doesn't get a comeuppance.
No, and like if you make one of your characters be like a bad touch sexual assault,
the
type
mini
guy,
boss of the henchman,
you want him to have an especially nasty death.
Yeah.
But I think he just gets offed with everyone else. Yeah, this is a hard crew of bad guys to discern. It's not like Die Hard where it's like they all kind of have a thing. You got Anthony Perkins, you got
Bubbles.
You got Bubbles. We'll just call him Bubbles.
Yeah.
I love Michael Parks, but yeah, you got Bubbles. You have the 2 Japanese gentlemen, and then you have the others.
The rest.
Who really look like this a variation on the same dude.
Pretty much,
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They could have done a little bit better there.
Yeah, and Sana is presumed to have fallen overboard. We, as the audience, know that she's fine.
There's no way, because we didn't see the body,
Exactly,
so we know that she's hiding somewhere for a later reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we can't wait for. So, Roger Moore, James Mason, and the other guy arrive at the platform where they are met with the owner, not the owner, the person who runs this particular platform.
This guy
Columbo himself.
Is he Columbo?
That was Peter Falk.
That is not Peter Falk, my friend.
Oh,
That is
okay.
not. I know from Peter Falk.
okay.
That is not Peter Falk. If Peter Falk was in this movie, I would be front-loading
Well, he
that.
looked a lot like him. He sounded a lot
Well,
like him.
let me tell you who he is.
Okay.
The name of this character is King, and he is played by an actor named David Hedison. And if he looks familiar, that is because he previously played, speaking of James Bond, he previously played James Bond's CIA buddy, Felix Leiter.
Oh, well, which Bond movie?
Here's the interesting thing. He's played Felix Leiter twice. Felix Leiter, a character that's been played by multiple actors. The interesting thing about his tenure as Felix Leiter is that he played him for the first Moore movie and the last Dalton movie.
Oh.
Those were the only two times he played that character, and I have to imagine other characters played him in the interim. But yeah, he played him in Live and Let Die, and then he came back for the License to Kill, which...
That's the one where he gets killed off, right? Spoiler alert. But...
He doesn't get killed off. His wife gets killed off. James Bond is going on a revenge mission because Robert Davi tried to kill Felix Leiter. Felix Leiter does survive, even though he is lowered into a shark tank.
Right.
Somehow he survives this.
Okay.
Even though other Bond movies have made the decision to kill off Felix Leiter, but for some reason he does survive that.
This
movie.
one, yeah, the shark he gets away from.
Yeah.
it.
So kind of a James Bond reunion here.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Huh. No, that's interesting.
That is interesting, yeah. You'll see that occasionally in the James Bond franchise. It kind of has a bit of like a Law and Order thing going on, where like actors will be in one movie, and then they'll take 2 movies off, and then they'll be back in the 4th movie, but as a different character.
Yeah.
That happened, like Joe Don Baker... speaking of Mitchell himself, is the bad guy in Living Daylights, the first Dalton movie. Then he takes 2 movies off, and then he's back in the Brosnan era, but as a good guy, as a different character. So yeah, and I think other actors have done that too throughout the franchise too. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Again, yeah, like the Law and Order thing, where actors are just like completely interchangeable. It's all like, weren't you a lawyer on like season 2? Yeah, I'm a different lawyer this time. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So back on the boat there.
The Jennifer.
On the Jennifer.
Well, they're on the big structure.
Okay, yeah. So Roger Moore, James Mason,
Felix Leiter,
and the other guy.
and woman.
And woman, yes.
who tries to take Roger Moore's coat, and he immediately is all like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You absolutely may not take my coat. You'll only throw it overboard because women don't know what coat hangers are.
Yeah. I like this one other example of his dickishness where he's like, "King, tell your secretary for me," even though she's like right in the room with him. She always gives like kind of a look like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like I said, awful fucking character, but just every once in a while you can't help but be like, I kind of love how much of an asshole this character is.
I should point out this character's name is Sarah, just so that we don't fall into the trap of being folks and just refer to her as woman the entire time.
Gotcha, yeah. So they call up the... I'm just going to say... I'm not going to... So they call up the boat.
The boat?
Yes.
The boat. There's the boat, the helipad, and...
The rig.
The rig. There we go. Fine.
All right, so
Fine.
So the people on the platform call up the boat.
Wow, you're not going to use the female names. Wow, being a real folks, Jameson.
Well, they're not actual women. They're structured.
Wow. We've got that on mic, ladies and gentlemen. I almost said folks. That wasn't going to work. Sorry, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead. I'll stop ribbing ya.
All right, so the people on the platform call up the people on the boat, and they say, we need more time to deliver you the money. And then folks has the brilliant idea of like, all right, well now use my tactical instincts to know exactly how to handle this situation. I must know that Lou Kramer now is losing his mind and he's being super paranoid. We're not going to communicate with him for another hour because I'm such a fucking renegade. In the meantime, we're going to fake an explosion of Ruth. So we're going to explode the platform. You got that, Admiral?
But
you
not
got that head of the fucking Navy?
But it's gonna be like an explosion, like in front, because the whole thing is that the boat that the terrorists are on, not the boat, not the terrorists. The boat Anthony Perkins and his team are on is too far away from the helipad or whatever, so they can cause an explosion in front of it. and make it look like someone set us off the bomb.
Yeah.
Someone did that, and then Anthony Perkins won't blow up the thing because
it buys them some time.
The timeline for when he said he would blow up Ruth is fast approaching. So Roger Moore says, let's pretend to blow it up first, and then Anthony Perkins won't have any cause to blow it up himself. Now, it seems like a risky maneuver, on my opinion.
And it just makes me wonder, okay, you don't maybe have, like, someone who's staying behind to confirm whether it got blown up or not? You don't maybe have a signal that lets you know when bombs that you set up went off?
How could someone stay on the platform to let them know that it blew up if they blow up the platform?
Or maybe they're on like a little dinghy just off to the side of it so they can confirm it.
They don't have dinghy money. Everyone that he knows is on the boat. This is like a small team that he's working with, and he has to...
Well, then some kind of sensor that lets them know whether or not the bomb has gone off,
like
or a heart rate monitor or something.
A heart rate, yeah, just like those are just lying around, yeah. Like I said, Anthony Perkins, not a smart plan.
Right.
His plan has many holes in it, and as evidenced by the fact that folks is able to easily get one over on him.
All right.
I would just think that this is a risky thing to do, just like setting off a huge explosion near the bombs.
Yes.
Seems like maybe like a bad call.
Especially, because those bombs, as is explained to us, are wired to go off if they are tampered with.
They're hair-trigger tempers.
Yeah.
Not tempers. That's the opposite.
Triggers.
Triggers, thank you.
Yeah.
Just hair triggers.
Exactly.
I didn't need to add the temper part. That's what I have.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what they do. They call up Anthony Perkins long enough for them to, like, you know, distract him before the time goes off so he can think that the military was trying to dismantle the bombs, sees the explosion go off, and he goes like, oh, shit. Well, I guess that takes that piece off the board. And now that they've bought themselves some time, Roger Moore enacts, you know, phase 2 of his fucking master plan, which involves getting James Mason onto the actual boat itself so he can do the old fake dropping a cigarette pack trick.
Now, they spent so much time on this, and this is really funny. It's like, so the other thing about Folks is that he's like very time-based. Like, all of his plans are like down to like the nanosecond. He's like the fucking equalizer.
Right.
It's like he's constantly checking his watch.
Making sure all our watches are synced.
It's like, not only are we going to do this, James Mason, we are going to do this at like 11:14. And it's deadly important that we do it at 11:14. In fact, everyone synchronize your watches right now. That's how important, down to the second, all of my timing is.
Yeah, at 11:14, I expect you to do this trick because at 11:14.8 seconds, that's when I kill him. You're going to see me kill him.
It's literally this big, elaborate thing where James Mason needs to be at a specific point on the ship at a specific point in time. He needs to pull out a packet of cigarettes, offer one to Anthony Perkins, but tap the bottom of it just so that that the cigarettes fall out on the floor, and then when he bends to pick up the cigarettes, Roger Moore will jump out of nowhere and shoot Anthony Perkins.
That's right.
It is the most absurd fucking thing you could imagine, but the end of the movie hinges on this exact thing playing out the way that Folks is hoping that it would.
From here on out, here's how we're going to set up everything that happens in the final act of the movie. We're laying all the groundwork for it right now, and then we just gotta wait for, as Roger Moore describes it, they happen without a hitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the plan is for James Mason, Felix Leiter, and they are saying James Mason's aide, but secretly him and Folks have switched places.
Yes.
So Folks is coming with them, but the idea is that they are going onto the boat before the ransom is delivered, so that they can't just do what Folks later on does and say drop a bomb on top of them.
That's right.
Because obviously, because the other thing too, and the other reason Anthony Perkins is really dumb is that later on they're saying like, you better get us our ransom money, but you better get us the money in all the denominations that we asked for. And they said like, okay, well, we'll have to fly a plane in. And he's immediately all
no
like,
planes!
I didn't approve of planes coming in. And then James Mason, very matter-of-factly, goes, how else are we supposed to get you the money? You're in the middle of the North Sea. Obviously a plane needs to come in, otherwise we can't like fax the money here. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So So Anthony Perkins like, fine, but I'm gonna be watching the skies, and if there's something happens that I don't like, he's just bluffing. He's just such full of bullshit. Yeah. He hasn't thought this through at all.
It's absolutely the sort of thing that would happen in with Dark Helmet and Spaceballs, where it's like, but sir, this is the only way we can give you the money. I know that. Good. So they all clamber aboard this harness that will airlift them over to
Which I would not do.
No,
if it were, I would never do this. In a million years, does not look safe.
No, not at all. I'm sure it's like standard military procedure to be on the inside of this thing, but they're all kind of hanging on to the outside of it like it's like a jungle gym thing.
And it's just ropes.
It is just ropes.
It's just ropes against the open air.
Yeah, in the...
Nothing but ocean beneath you. No, thank you.
In the Arctic Sea during a storm at night.
No thanks. Absolutely not.
Well, that's why this movie's not for people like you and me. It's for manly men.
It's for absolute manly men who hold on to the ropes with their teeth.
One-arming it. So, James Mason, Roger Moore, and Felix Slider land on the ship. And Anthony Perkins takes one look at Roger Moore and says, I don't like this guy.
You have kind of like this smarmy attitude. You have like this look on your face where it's like,
yeah, you're up to something.
It looks like you think you're better than everyone here. And Anthony Perkins makes the only smart move he makes in this entire movie and says, like,
get out of here.
This guy can fuck off.
Yeah,
I took one look at you and I have decided that you are a problem, so you can go back to the other boat. And it's so funny. And he keeps James Mason and Felix Leiter with him. And I love that Folks's plan, he resorts to have to go to like plan B or whatever, just hinging on the fact that Anthony Perkins is all like, I don't like the way you look, dude.
Yeah.
You can fuck off, actually.
I love when Roger Moore gets back onto the platform, and they're all just looking at him like, so what happened? Like, aren't you supposed to be like the guy to do like all the assassination jobs? And he's just like,
I don't like him changing my plans.
This is a real monkey wrench in the works.
I think Sarah, the secretary, it says something along the lines of all like, "What? You're definitely supposed to be on the boat right now." And then I believe his response is, "How like a woman to bring up a statement like that at a time like this? Don't we?" Just trying to.
I know I'm supposed to be on there.
Just trying to cover the fact that he's a horrible actor and like he stepped off. Folks, not Roger Moore. Although it should be said, Roger Moore did have a very relaxed way of approaching basically every role that he did. But yeah, no, and I just love the fact that this hinges on folks dropping down. It's all like, all right, I'm going undercover, and then the entire time he just has this big smile on his face. He's all like, hey, are you really like the Admiral's ensign? And he's all like, maybe.
He's in the back like cracking his knuckles and everything, ready to go. Just like shadow boxing, ready to go.
He fucks it up so badly because he can't stop being a smarmy asshole for 2 seconds. Oh, it really made me laugh.
So he's back on the platform with the worst possible person, a woman.
A woman who's giving him a lot of this.
So he's like, okay, well, there's only one thing left to do. Get me the Prime Minister.
Get me a direct line to the Prime Minister. Yeah. Yes, no, he's back with a woman and also the Admiral's actual aide, which I just wanted to point out. We referred to him as like that Weasley guy.
Well, he's not a Weasley guy.
He's just like a guy,
nice character,
a guy that no one should give any sort of like respect to. I just noticed his name is Lord Privy Seal Tipping. Oof. So maybe you were right. Maybe your initial read on him was correct. The names in this movie.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Rufus Excalibur,
Seal Tipping. Seal Tipping. That's
something that drunk hicks do in the sea.
That's what teenage Atlanteans will do.
Exactly.
They sneak out
into a farmer's land. Quit harassing my seals, you youngins!
See, the great thing about seal tipping is you tip them over and they just keep going because it's water and we're weightless and we're all weightless because we're underwater.
So he calls up the Prime Minister and he offers up the plan of, I'm going to sneak my way back onto the ship there.
He calls up the Prime Minister. He manages to get through an entire conversation without calling her a whore.
Yeah. He hangs up and then just like vomits into a wastebasket.
Oh, it's the nicest I've ever been to a woman. Oh, that's the longest I've ever treated a woman with respect. Oh, God. He gets like the shake.
Scotch, now! But he says, like, all right, if I don't confirm a kill by, like, a minute after I told Admiral James Mason this, just bomb the fucking thing.
Yeah, and they have two guys in a helicopter with a big cartoonish-looking bomb that's just going to come, and they're just going to blow it up.
Cartoony is right.
Even though I thought it had already been established that if the boat blows up, the other structures will also blow up, because isn't that where the trigger is?
Yeah, but it's when someone pushes the button.
Anyway,
In this case, it's only if they push the button.
Wouldn't a bomb exploding simulate someone pushing a button?
Quit using that
Quit
brain
using
of yours.
that big brain of yours. No. It's fingerprint decoded.
That sounds like woman talk to me. Happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Oh my god.
So Roger Moore gets himself back into a swimsuit, and he paddles his way over to
He is none too happy with the color of his
a
wetsuit.
bright red one. Which he's got a point.
He specifies that it is vermilion, actually, which is like, well, this is yet another bit of insight into Mr. Folks's potential sexual proclivity, is that he's able to identify whether or not something is what's the color I just fucking said? I don't know.
Vermilion?
Vermilion,
Did I get that? Yeah.
Anyone else would just call it red.
Yeah.
But no, this is fucking vermilion over here.
No, he had to
yeah.
get like that
It's just
specific twine that he wanted to do for his needle point.
Honey, just come out. It's safe. It's all right. It's fine. I know it's the 80s. I know it's a rough time for y'all. You'll be so much happier.
I will say, when he is back on the ship and he's running around in that red wetsuit with the fucking headpiece still up, he looks fucking stupid.
He looks stupid, and he's in that for the majority of the climax of the movie.
Just pull the hood down, and then your face won't be all scrunched
But then
up
he doesn't know when he's going to be back in the water, James. He has to be ready at a moment's notice.
So he's on the ship. He's taken out some of the terrorists. His men finally catch up to the goings-on.
Well, he almost gets got.
Yes.
He's sneaking around in his bright vermilion wetsuit, and he's trying to get one over on the men who are walking the deck, and they're
the guards.
The guards. They're having coffee. They're smoking cigarettes. They're trying to get him. And folks straight up fucks up and is backing into one of the terrorists, and the terrorist sees him, and he's about to get him, but who should pop out of the lifeboat? But our aforementioned female crew member, Santa. Santa.
Who we didn't mention has a pixie haircut, which I didn't think was going to be fucking important.
I didn't think it was going to be important at all.
Until Roger Moore gets one look at her and says, like, good on you, lad. Good job, son.
And then she immediately corrects him and says, I am a grown adult woman. But then for the majority of the rest of the scene, he just keeps referring to her as boy. So, like, if you say so, not a problem. Because his
come on now, young man.
He won't. His inner misogynist won't allow him to be saved by a woman.
Nope.
So it's all like, this must be a gender confused young man. It's all right.
It just flat out rejects the idea that this person is a woman.
And then, yes, as you say,
It sounds like you have seasickness, boy. No woman could ever be so courageous.
Sea madness! Yes, indeed.
You're obviously in hysterics. It's all right, lad.
And then the folks Fusiliers finally show up.
Nice alliteration, by the way.
Yeah, not too bad. I wasn't even planning on that.
Folks Fusiliers finally finish the function.
You want to keep going?
No.
All right.
Fuck no.
They've been out of this movie for so long, I completely forgot that he had like a crack squad of
who are swimming their way to this fucking place.
I guess they just straight up swam from his fucking castle
in Scotland to the mid-Atlantic.
To the middle of the it's all like, I don't know where they were because we weren't following them or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess presumably a boat took them out to a point in the thing and then they jumped out.
They would have to.
But the movie doesn't show us that, so I like to think that they just swam from Scotland because that's the funnier option. But they finally show up. Now, to be fair, they take out most of the henchmen.
Yes.
And they do it very, efficiently. They just come, they just grab them, and the knife to the neck.
Yep.
And they're gone. They're dead. The two Japanese guys get off.
Yep.
And it's like, I was expecting more. It's not like there's anything really distinct about these two Japanese crooks. It's just the fact that I'm able to discern them as, different from, the other ones, because they're played by Japanese actors.
And all the other guys are white guys. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, they get unceremoniously shanked. I guess Mr. Rapey from earlier gets again.
I forget how.
Very
but,
unceremonious, and basically all of the crooks get wiped out except for Anthony Perkins and Bubbles, who are in the cabin with I guess the remaining crew, and they got guns trained on people.
Yep. And
James Mason's there,
and
he has a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, he's watching the clock, and I guess fucking Roger Moore getting escorted off of the boat itself does not change the plan whatsoever, because he does find his way back at the exact moment that he said he would be
and
there.
Like things keep tripping him up, because again, another really funny moment is that he has, what's the name of like his subordinate on like the Fusiliers? There's one guy in particular.
Oh, is it like Hendrix or?
Yeah, it's like we'll just call him Hendrix or whatever.
Yeah.
So he has like one guy that he's always like super angry about. It's all like, Hendrix,
Yeah.
get over here. He says a name, and he like, this is the guy he like left in charge after he left or whatever. And because he's wearing like his vermilion wetsuit or whatever, Hendrix sees him from the back.
Yeah.
And so, being like the folks-trained assassin that he is, he sneaks up on his own boss and gets him in a headlock.
Yeah.
But because Folks is just that amazing, he's able to toss Hendrix over the side.
Yeah.
So it's like he almost gets got by one of his own dudes. But amazingly, even this does not prevent him from being in the exact spot that he needs to be at the exact time that he needs to be there.
In his amazing Sherlock Holmes mind
Yes.
palace way of thinking, he calculated every single possibility to the absolute.
Absolutely. I know for a fact that Hendrix is going to show up here.
And
I know
try to kill me.
He's going to try and kill me.
I know I'm going to have to make 2 trips to this
That's
fucking
right.
boat.
By the way, we never see Hendrix again.
No.
He might have drowned.
He may
It's
have.
possible. Yeah. And Folks sheds 0 tears.
Yep. So James Mason does the old drop the cigarettes trick.
It's kind of the only thing he does in this movie.
Yeah.
I love how earlier it's like Roger Moore like explains this, and then there's another scene, and then it cuts back to them, and James Mason's just sitting down quietly practicing.
Yeah.
It's all like, this is my one thing. I have to get it right.
And meanwhile, he's just thinking like, I've been a fucking actor for fucking 30, 40
I
years
love
here.
the fact that Roger Moore convinced the director to hire James Mason to this movie because he was a fan of James Mason's acting and he wanted to act with him. And James Mason is given nothing to do in this movie. He's second billed and he really is barely a character.
So Roger Moore kills Anthony Perkins. Well, no, he
shoots him with a harpoon
He shoots
gun,
him with a couple little harpoons,
which is always cool.
Yep, kind of incapacitates him. Looks like that he's not going to be able to reach to the detonator.
Michael Parks is still alive and he tries to get, Bubbles.
Bubbles tries to get to the detonator, but he also gets gunned down with harpoons.
He gets multiple harpoons, and
Yeah.
that actually does kill him, and that's him out.
Yeah.
And Anthony Perkins is just slumped over, sitting up in a chair. But it's like, we know that can't be the end of him. It's Norman Bates. Come on, he's got to come back for one more.
He slowly tries to swivel his way over to the detonator, and he's still alive, and he's just about to reach the button, and then of course Roger Moore shows up again.
It couldn't be anyone else.
No,
it couldn't have been Felix Leiter. It couldn't have been anyone.
It couldn't have been James Mason, who was actually,
he was like standing right next to him.
He was in the room, and
it has to be Roger Moore. Every cool thing has to be Roger Moore.
Hell, his point earlier was that I don't trust Roger Moore to do this job. Like, I expect well-trained, disciplined military men to get the job done because they live for this kind of service. He should have had the moment to be like, yes, Navy still gets it done.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a proud naval man, and he was
James
there to
Mason just goes up to the director and is like, could it be possible that I could do anything?
Could it be possible?
Could
I possibly do
one thing on this movie?
Like, no.
All I'm doing is dropping fags all over the deck. It would be nice if I could do one thing more than this. No? All right, well, that's very good then.
I see now.
Yes. I guess I'll read this script for this next movie. What is this? 11 Harrow.
What do I do?
Dawn.
I see a painted cockroach. Oh, I see now.
I love that they put that on the screenplay.
Before we get to the ending,
Yes.
the poor Santa is like just shivering because she was out in the storm all night.
Yeah, she's been hiding in the lifeboat this entire time.
Yeah.
So folks takes a second to recognize it's all like,
Come on, young man. Let's heat you up into the
like,
hot.
you
You
must
need a
be-
hot shower.
You're almost dying of hypothermia. Yes, come here. Don't worry about this.
You're a good man, Ensign, and I will.
And
I'm
then-
a woman, you asshole.
And then he takes off most of her clothes, but leaves her shirt on, and he just like shoves her into a hot shower, which is what she needs. He starts rubbing her back to get the. It's almost like an anti-James Bond ending, because if this
Yes.
was a James Bond movie,
They'd be locking lips by
he
now.
would just be getting into the shower with her, but he's being very studious about it. He's just like rubbing the thing, turns her around, sees for the first time that she has breasts, and immediately is all like, ew, gross.
Yeah, you're a woman. No, doesn't he say something like?
He says, "You're the
you're a woman." Well, even so, you are a hero.
Thank God you are a girl. Even so, a lot of people owe you a great deal.
Even so, you are the British government owes you a debt of gratitude. You are the bravest woman that I have ever met. If anyone asks you about that, I will deny that I ever said that.
Yeah, you're a woman, I see. Well, be that as it may, you did save my life, and I am in your debt and appreciated it.
I do respect you for the first time. Now back to the kitchen with you. Sorry, reflex. Sorry, force of habit. Sorry about that. Sorry, this is all new to me.
Yeah.
Women doing things.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. No, don't touch me.
So, and the movie ends back at his castle estate where the Prime Minister shows up
love this.
with like the full bagpipe group and everything. And there's like, well, I hear that you're not one for medals and
a lot of poppycock and nonsense and pointless. I don't care for it. And then she has like a little box.
It's like, well,
and
I got something for you.
Before they even opened the box, I was just all like,
it's either gonna be a cat or some scotch, isn't it? And I just, nope, it's kittens.
Well,
one of his two loves.
He already has enough. It was going to be one or
the
the other. But no, I assume they were giving him a kitty. I was wrong also. They gave him 3 kitties.
Little 3
and
kitties.
They're named after the Ethel, the Juliana,
the Jennifer,
and
the Ruth,
the RuPaul. I don't know. I couldn't remember the names.
Yeah.
But yes, and the movie ends. It's just so. I mean, like, he's not Ron. It's a very different character from James Bond.
Yeah.
Instead of the Prime Minister awarding him a medal and him getting into a shower with a sexy lady, he shoves a lady into a shower and
calls
says,
her a boy,
strictly platonic, and then the Prime Minister gives him 3 kittens. And then the movie immediately ends. And it's wild.
It's a new hero for a new 1980s.
For a new era.
Jesus fucking Christ. Anything else we didn't mention here?
So there's like this whole sequence where we talked about the crew trying to get like the poison from the poison cupboard. They have to run it past the captain first, and obviously the captain is being watched by Anthony Perkins the entire time, so it's not like they can like communicate things, whatever. But they need to get the poison key from the captain to get them into the thing. So he figures out like this whole bait and switch thing where he reaches into his pockets and then he sends his first mate down to his quarters to get his pipe. He says, "My pipe is in like the
desk drawer,
the second drawer down in the desk drawer." And then the first mate goes into the captain's brig or whatever, and he sees that all of his pipes are lined out in a row,
like on a rack.
Yes,
and he's like,
meaning that
check the drawer,
check
buddy.
the drawer. That's what he's doing. My initial reaction was, "Why does this guy need so many pipes? Why?
Well, he's got his cold weather pipe. He's got his celebration pipe. He's
a salty sea dog. He should have one pipe that's basically like ground down to a nub.
Yeah, that he whittled out of a corn cob.
Absolutely, it's like you have one ship, you have one pipe.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I don't know. I thought that was the most clever that movie got.
Sure,
the most cloak and dagger. The Synth Company soundtrack is unreal. That's one note that I have.
I wrote down like in the scene where we're introduced to the villains and the ship is just going out. My note was like, the music here is like really dramatic for something that's not remotely exciting at all.
Yeah.
It's literally just a ship leaving a pier.
Yeah. It seems like it would be a good final act set piece music.
Yes.
It's a little.
It
little
feels
too
like they
intense.
put it in the wrong place. But what I noticed after that is that as a result of the music being really exciting over kind of mundane stuff happening, I wasn't bored.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting tactic that maybe more movies could try.
Yeah.
If it's all like nothing really happens for like 10 pages.
Yeah.
What if the music just went da 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 for like no reason? And it's just like a guy driving down a road.
So you can't hear any dialogue.
I'd be it would keep my attention.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's everything that I wanted to say on this movie. Yeah, that's it.
All right, cool. Well, North Sea Hijack, Jameson, does it have a certain something or a whole lot of nothing?
The certain something that it has is Roger Moore just being a huge piece of shit that I just couldn't help but be like, I kind of want to see what he does next. I want to see how
100%.
awful he can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the rest of the movie is like a fairly boilerplate, suspense. No, not even like an action drama. The big action set piece happens in the last 10 or so minutes of the movie.
Yes.
So it's just people twiddling their thumbs waiting for the big action set piece, which I think was kind of a staple of movies of the era, right? That weren't James Bond action movies. This is just, easier to make, a suspenseful thriller like this back in the day. And yeah, him just being so different from James Bond made it an interesting watch for me. I don't particularly like this character, but I kind of want to see how bad he can get.
You reminded me of my favorite piece of trivia from the IMDb trivia thing, which someone clearly wrote this with an agenda, but I remember looking at the trivia right before I hit play, and I remember reading this, and I remember going, oh dear. I just really love the way this person worded this. This movie's poor performance was largely blamed on the almost complete lack of action scenes. That's a trivia piece.
So says the director.
Yes.
And a
No,
producer.
they're not terribly wrong. No, I completely agree with you. This movie would be absolutely forgettable if it were not for the absurdly weird main character that it has.
Yeah.
Just the combination of things that make up the character of Rufus Excalibur, folks. And look, I'm just gonna say, like, I was genuinely surprised to learn that this isn't like a series of books that folks hasn't gone on like a bunch of like cat hugging, woman punching adventures.
Jesus,
Or
yeah.
so- he doesn't assault any women. I
No.
shouldn't say, but
you wouldn't hesitate.
look. In this era where like everything gets like an Amazon Prime miniseries or whatever, bring folks back.
That would be a tough sell.
Do like a 6-episode first season, and then if the people are biting, like bring it on to it.
You just know if they were to bring this back, he would be partnered up with a very competent female
and
sidekick or whatever.
he'd be pissed off the entire time.
And
He'd
he would learn to get over his misogyny or whatever.
Here's my one note for the showrunners of that, though.
Don't do that.
Well, also don't do that, but also like lose the illusions. Make him out and proud, honey. Make him, it's all like, like give folks a boyfriend, someone to look after those cats.
Yep.
When he's off on missions or whatever.
Fuck, just what a combination of character traits.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Knives out abrasive, hates women, thinks he knows better than everybody else, provably knows better than everybody else, always makes the right call against everyone second guessing.
Drinks like a fish, loves kitties.
Is a hobbyist needlepoint man, like. And I guess is rich. Like he has like castle money.
Yeah, he has like inherited wealth.
And he
or
runs
whatever.
a fucking like private ops group.
And he has 10 sisters.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I want to see the series. I want to.
prequel series?
I want to start introducing.
Oh, no.
I want to start
You want to
introducing.
see? He's a tragic, flawed
the
character.
Folks family.
Oh no, yeah.
Learn what their middle names are.
Oh god, yeah. I mean,
They're all named after like swords.
we've covered a lot of movies starring mercenary men, and he's one of them. He's probably my least favorite mercenary man we've covered.
But he got the job done.
As they all do.
And he kept things from blowing up.
That's all you can really ask.
That's all you can really ask for at the end of the day. Well, that was North Sea Hijack.
Certainly was.
AKA Folks, directed by Andrew V. McLagan. If you enjoyed this episode, thank you. If you'd like to listen to some other episodes, thank you.
Feel free.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
We got over 130 of them.
Something like that, yeah.
If you go further back into the catalog, you will notice that the show is called The Fuck Is This? Sorry, The Fuck Is This?
Yeah.
It's the same show. It's just us. We're just talking about, we're just having some fun. We're just having a laugh. We talk about movies, but the thing that makes us different from other podcasts, we just have.
Yep.
Jameson wants me to move on. You can follow us on all the social media. Not all the social media. Where we actually drop one of the social medias, but because most of the social media is bad. But we
Right.
are on Instagram and we are on Facebook.
But if you want to meet some like-minded people like folks,
that's right. Like folks, yes, yes. r/folks. That's 2 R's. We'd like to thank Eddie Lamb
I'm sure he's
for
thrilled.
his fantastic theme music.
He loves being a part of this
He
kind of talk,
he
I
loves
bet.
being mentioned at the end of every episode. You can follow me on Letterboxd. I'm Kaz Lesgard.
My name's Jameson Raptor. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel for my cartoon stuff. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel for our fucking podcast episodes. And
Subscribe to all YouTube
Spotify,
channels.
our YouTube, yeah.
Indiscriminately.
That's right. Fuck, what does Roger Moore say? Keeping the British end up, sir. That's what Roger Moore would say.
What movie did he say that in?
Oh, was that the Spy You Love Me?
Keeping the British end up, sir?
I suppose. I don't know. I don't know.
How about a martini? Shaken, not stirred.
Hey, there you go.
There we go. That's a thing that I know he said.
That's something Avon said.
At some
But now
point
we
in time.
burned that line, and I got to think of something else for fucking Timothy Dalton now.
We're doing George Lazenby.
Right. See, that's how forgettable.
That's how
he is.
forgettable he is.
All right, stay tuned
All
for
right.
next episode where we discuss
the
George
most
Lazenby.
forgettable actor in the world.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.